Hello everyone, my name is Priyanka Goswami. I am working as an assistant professor of Department of Management Studies in GL Bajaj Institute of Management Research, Greater Noida. Today I am going to discuss with you, the topic is selection and placement, right, from the subject management concepts and organization behavior, and today's lecture number is 14. Selection. Once the recruitment is finished, that means we have already, organization have already created the pool of candidate. So after recruitment, they have to proceed for the selection. Selection is what? It involves certain steps due to which the candidate needs to go, and due to this selection procedure, organization can have a best suitable candidate who can best suitable for that vacant position. So in this way we can say that selection is a process of choosing the best suitable candidates which is required for the vacant position. So selection is the process of choosing the most suitable candidate from those who apply for the job. It is a process of offering job to desired candidates. Yes, we can say that it is a kind of process of selecting the candidates out of the large number of pool, so that those, and even by selecting those candidates, the organization will offer the particular job position, right. So selection is that process where they choose the candidate out of the pool of candidates, and after that they also offer the job which match with the employee's skills and abilities. According to R.M. Hodgetts, selection is the process in which an enterprise chooses the applicants who best meet the criteria for the available position. Yes, this is the process in which they have to see that whatever requirement they are with the vacant position, are they candidates are going to match or not, right. So this kind of matching, or we can say it is a process of selecting or choosing the best candidate out of number of candidates. The process of making hire or no hire decision regarding each applicants for a job. It is a process where they decides whether to hire this person or not to hire this person, and it totally depends on the requirement and the abilities and skills the person is with. So this kind of process is known as selection. Selection, we also call selection a negative process. Why? Because elimination involved in this process, right. Because selection is what? It contains systematic steps. It contains series of steps due to which the people needs to go, and he has to prove that he is best person, or he is the best suitable candidate for that for that vacant position. So in this way they have to prove with his skills and abilities, but we can call it, why we can call it negative? Because elimination is involved, right. So that's why we call it that recruitment is a positive process, because there is no elimination from the organization side. That means they just create they attract the people for the vacant position, but selection is the process where from the initial beginning, from the very beginning only, they start eliminating the people just to get the best one, right. That's why we call it that it is a negative process. If I talk about process of selection, these are the steps required, or these are the steps involved in selection process. In organization to organization it varies. Like, we cannot say that all the organization follows these exact systematic series. Some organization follows some other. That means maybe some steps may they eliminate in the selection process. It totally depends on the organization nature, and at the same time the job which they are, the job or the vacant position for which they are searching for. The candidate or we can say the employee, they are searching for the particular role. That means what kind of role the person has to perform while doing that particular job. So it also depends on the role, that what kind, for which role they are looking for, right. So that is also depend on that the role of that particular vacant position. So this process of selection, this is a standard procedure of selection which starts from the initial screening. Initial screening means where a resume, once through recruitment, once organization is with the lot of resume. So initial screening, in initial screening they basically shortlist the candidates on the basis of some basic eligibility, which is very important to be in the candidate, to be present in the candidate, right? So it's something which is very required. It might be it can be a communication skills, it can be a soft speaking, right? So this kind be a this kind of basic skills is, if they are looking for, without which they cannot select any person for that vacant position. So for that they start doing this initial screening, right? Initial screening, this is very general and basic interview conducted so as to eliminate the candidate who are completely unfit to the work in the organization, right? Suppose if they are looking for salesperson, so the very basic thing they have to look for, that is a communication or the interpersonal skill. He should know how to convince people, right? So by knowing the selling skills, by judging their selling skills, we can say by judging their communication skills, that how much he has a clarity in his communication, right? So this kind of thing the organization will judge in the very beginning, right? So this can be done through this initial screening, and this kind of screening may be done through telephonic interview. Like instead of calling them directly, organization or the manager may call to that particular candidate and talk to them, and by that telephonic interview he can judge that is he with that particular quality or not, right? So this kind of telephonic initial screening is basically done in the organization just to judge the qualities which is very important to perform that particular role. Once he has passed that initial screening, then only he can proceed to the completed application step, right? And if he is not able to pass this particular this initial screening, so obviously he will fail to meet the minimum qualification and he will get rejected, right? So number one is, if once he passed it, then only he will proceed to the next step, that is a completed application. Once organization or the manager feels that yes, he is suitable for this particular position, that means basic eligibility he has, then obviously he will call him for the interview. And in the interview, before interview only, in the reception, first of all they will provide one application form where he fills all the skills, all the information which is related to his educations, which is related to his experience, which is related to his achievement. All the things he will fill to that particular form, and on the basis of that application, then again what organization will do, then HR will scrutinize his application on the basis of the standard eligibility which is required to perform that particular vacant position. So on the basis of the application also, application shortlisting also, they can shortlist the candidate, and on the basis of that particular process also, they can decide whether to move this particular candidate to the next level, or he may reject, right? So this kind of procedure is also followed by the organization in this selection process. Once he is also gets successful in this application shortlisting step, then only he will proceed to the next step, that is employment test. Like completed application is what? If I talk about completed application, once the individual qualifies the preliminary interview, he is required to fill the application form in the prescribed format. Yes, on the basis of that application format only, the organization or the manager or the HR manager can judge whether he will proceed to the next step or not. Is he fulfilling all the basic educational eligibilities or the qualification eligibilities or experience eligibility or not, right? So on the basis of application shortlisting procedure, they can analyze this thing, right? So if those people have passed, or the candidate have passed that particular step, then only he will proceed to the next step, that is a employment test. Employment test is a written test in which the set of questions will be asked from the employee, from the candidate, and he has to give right answers to that to those particular questions, right? So employment test is a written kind of test. It usually we can say follow in the government organization, right? In the government organization, suppose if there is a vacancy of any banks, so after application, right, they also follow this kind of step. Firstly, they ask them to fill the application. Once the application they have filled, then on the basis of that they will issue the admit card for the employment test. Employment test is what the kind of written test which they conduct for the applicants. Then applicants will give that particular internal give that particular employment test or the written exam of that bank, right? And it may contain with the different steps, like paper 1, paper 2 with the general awareness related questions, with the IQ level questions, or we can say with the technical related questions, right? So they have to respond to the each and every questions, and once they have scrutinized by the authority, then only they can decide that whether those particular candidates will move to the next step or they get rejected in that particular step, right? And then they call for the interview. So this kind of series is basically follow by the organizations firm as well, where they usually follow this written test and interview while selecting people for the vacant positions, right? So in private organization also this employment test may use, but not in every private organization, right? So this employment test is a written kind of written type of test where they have to give by which organization can judge the abilities, the IQ level, the IQ level, or we can say the emotional level of the people, by this employment test, right? It's not important that the questions only and they will ask related to the general awareness or related to the technical skills. They may ask related to several tests, like intelligence test they can do, they can judge their aptitude as well, interest test, psychological test, that how much they are positive, their thought process is positive or the negative, right? How they think during some particular situation or in particular situation, right? So this kind of thing they can judge on the basis of the written test, which also organized by the organization in their selection process, right? Once they pass the employment test, if they failed, so obviously they will get rejected. If they pass, then only they will proceed to the next step, that is comprehensive interview. Comprehensive interview is a kind of personal interview where they have to the person needs to face interviewer face to face, and that's a one-to-one interview where interviewer asks questions. The interview can be a structured interview, can be a panel interview, can be a stress interview. It depends on the role, or we can say that it depends on the vacant position, on the vacant position due to which what they want to analyze, right? If they are, suppose it depends on that, right? On the basis of that they will decide that which interview they are going to conduct for that particular post. So comprehensive interview is a kind of one-to-one interview where they try to get insights of that particular candidate, about him. They try to get more knowledge about that particular candidate. Then once they have once they have successful in this particular comprehensive interview, then only if he passed in this particular round, then only he will proceed to the next step, that is background examination, right? There is one term is written over here, that is conditional job offer. That means, yes, this round basically tell their technical knowledge, right, that how much he is capable. Once he is passed, then yes, he will get a job offer, but that is conditional based. That means again remaining steps they have to follow, they have to see, and there might be a chances like if they are not able to fulfill these two requirements, so the job offer may, you know, get them back from the candidate. Yes, so that conditional kind of job offer may offer after this comprehensive interview, but this never tell that the candidate is finally selected by the organization. That means once they have completed this comprehensive interview, they have to proceed with the background examination. Background examination basically tell them that whatever information they have filled, the particular candidate has filled in the application form, is that information is authentic or not, and that can be checked by the organization through this checking reference, or we can say a background examination, due to which they call or they contact those referral, or we can say that those reference which candidate already had given in the beginning. And then they contact and they ask about that particular candidate, that how he is, and how is his, is he good in his work or not, or whatever information he has given, they basically cross check by this background examination. And once he passed this background examination, then only he will proceed to the next step, that is a medical or physical examination, where they check that the person is mentally fit or physically fit or not for that particular vacant position. So this kind of step is also very important, and in some major roles, or we can say in some vacant positions, this become a very mandatory, and this might be, and this may take place in the beginning only also. So it depends on the vacant position, that what kind of positions they are with, the organizations are with, right? If organization is going to hire, if there is a recruitment of army soldier, so obviously this medical examination, this fitness test would be would play a major role to decide whether candidate will hire or not, right? Say hiring and no hiring decision will totally based on this medical or physical fitness. That means there, it equally plays an important role with the other interview rounds, right? So it depends, it totally depends on it totally depends on the vacant positions for which they are hiring, or the organization is hiring. Once they have passed in this medical physical examination, then only they will proceed to the permanent job offer. So this is the systematic series the organization needs to follow to get the best suitable candidate for the vacant position. So this is the process. Now we will move on to the next topic, that is placement. Placement is what? It is the process of determination of the job to which an accepted candidate is to be assigned and his assignment to that job. So placement is basically done after the selection. That means once the candidate has been selected by the organization, so they will then in placement process they basically see the candidate abilities and skills and the work they are with. That means the work which the person have to do, so the available work we can say. So they basically try to match or mismatch between, they try to make a match and mismatch between the employee's abilities and interest and the available work, right? So this kind of procedure is basically this kind of process is known as placement. It is a matching of what the supervisor has reason to think he can do with the job demand. It is a matching of what he imposes in strained working conditions and what he offers in the form of payroll, companionship with others, promotional possibility, etc. Yes, it is a matching. It is a matching of what supervisor thinks that the candidate is able to do, right, on the basis of his judgments, right, and what kind of salary, whatever kind of salary the organization have decided for him, that also the supervisor needs to see. So on the basis of that, he basically allocate responsibilities to that particular new candidate. So this kind of process if a supervisor is doing in the organization, so that process is known as placement. Why placement is important? Improves the morale of the employee. Yes, if this kind of procedure is not being adopted by the organization, then there might be a chances that the person who are with the skills and abilities will not get the job will not get the job accordingly, right? So there should be a proper matching. There should be a proper matching between the interest and abilities of the person and the available work which is available work of the organization, right? So it if there is a right placement of job, so obviously the right placement, or we can say when the selected person is rightly placed at right job, so then only the morale of that person may get boosted up. Next one is reduces employee turnover, and yes, if he is satisfied with the job, so obviously he will not leave the job, right? So this employee turnover may reduce. Employee turnover means what? Employee turnover means, that means how much people or how much employees are starting leaving the organization, right? If people are leaving the organization so frequently, so that means employee turnover is increased. I mean, it's getting increased, right? And if there is a sustainability, if there is a if employees are there for the longer period, so we can say that employee turnover is less of that organization. So yes, so organization always try to reduce that employee turnover, and it is only possible when employees are satisfied with the job, with the organization policies. So in placement also plays a very important role, because it leads to satisfy their employees with the job, right? Next one is decreases accidents rates. Yes, if he is rightly placed at right job, so obviously they know that what kind of work he has to do, and he can able to do perfectly. So obviously the accident rates may not increase, it will also get decreased. Next one is enhancing labor productivity. Yes, and if he likes his job, if he loves his job, so obviously the productivity will automatically get increased. And next one is clarifies expectation. If the placement is rightly done by the supervisor or by the manager, so obviously the expectations which organization, that means obviously after allotting the work, the manager will also tell that what are the expectation organization is having from that particular candidate. So it also clarifies the employee that how he has to do his work or how he has to perform his work. So in this way we can say that placement procedure or placement function of staffing is also play a very important. As we have discussed that this importance of placement, yes, placement is very important, because I've already told you that why it is important, but because it increases the morale of the employees, it reduces the employee turnover. Why? Because they are rightly placed in the organization according to their interests, their abilities, their skills, right? So obviously the employee turnover may also get reduced. At the same time, the accident rate will also get reduced if they are totally known that yes, what they have to do, and it is according to their interest and ability. So obviously that also decrease the accident rates. And the next one was labor productivity. Yes, productivity of the labor will also get increased, and clarifies expectation. And yes, if placement is being done by the manager in a rightly way, so obviously it also clarifies the employee that what kind of expectation the organization is having with that particular employee. So this kind of advantage, or we can say the importance, in this way we can say that placement is very important in the organization after selecting the people, after selecting the candidate for the vacant position, right? So in today's lecture we have studied, we can recap one more time that what we have discussed, right? First of all, we have discussed that what is selection, right? Once we recruit lots of applicants or lots of application for the vacant position, then we will proceed to the next step, that is selection. Selection, as you know, that it contains a series of steps where employee candidate needs to follow each and every step, and due to which organization can judge whether the person is suitable, best suitable or not for the open or for the available positions, right? So selection is a process where they decide that whether to hire or not to hire those particular candidates, right? So this kind of procedure is basically done in this selection process. And after selection we have also started this process of selection, that what are the steps involved in selection. I've already told you that selection, these process is not mandatory to be followed by each and every organization. There might be a changes, and it varies organization to organization. It also varies according to the role, that what kind of role they are going to hire people, right? So suppose if they are going to hire for if they are going to hire or recruit for the police, or if they are going to hire people for the medical staff, so obviously the selection procedure will be little different. And if they are going to hire people for the offices, or if they are going to hire executives and managers, so obviously the procedure will be different. So yes, we can say that it depends on the organization's nature, and at the same time the nature of the role or the nature of the job which is vacant in the organization. So these are the steps, these are the steps which involved in the selection. Number one is initial screening, then is completed application, then employment test, comprehensive interview, background examination, medical and or physical examination, and last one is permanent job. These are the steps which involve in the selection, and in every stage some people will get rejected and some people will proceed to the next step. So it's basically done to get the best suitable candidate. So in the end, or at the end of this particular procedure, the organization will be with the selective candidate, or we can say the best suitable candidate for the available over the vacant position. After this selection procedure, these are the explanation of the selection procedure: initial screening, completed application, employment test, comprehensive interview, checking reference, medical examination, and the permanent job offer. Once they have selected through this these series of selection procedure, then only they will move to the next step of staffing, that is placement. As I already told you, that placement is what, where they matching or where they basically match between the employees or the selected candidates' interest and abilities with the available role. So in this procedure, supervisor's judgment plays a very important role, because he is the one who is going to allocate the responsibility to the new candidate. So he will judge that what kind of role or what kind of working condition is best suitable for that particular employee. So according to that, he will allot the job, and this placement plays a very important role, but because it should be according to the selected candidate, right? Suppose there are multiple roles, there are multiple vacant position, and for that they have selected many candidates. So the supervisor has to judge accordingly that which person will be suitable for which kind of position. So this kind of placement, this kind of processing is very important for the organization to be performed, right? So in this way, this placement is done in the organization, right? Then I've already discussed with you that why placement is important, right? Placement plays a very important role, because once you selected and you directly placed without analyzing his abilities, his personality or his interest, so and you are wrongly placed him in a wrong position, so obviously he will not able to give his best, and ultimately who will suffer? The organization will suffer in a form of wastage, in a form of accidents, in a form of employee turnover, in a form of job dissatisfaction, or we can say in a form of cost occurring, right? Because again we have to recruit people for the available positions, right? So that's why we can say that placement plays a very important role in the organization. So this is the lecture for today. Thank you.